What's up, y'all? It's Jam and Sam, and now we're gonna do more DKC2 analysis. Welcome. Hello again, music creator capable. So we just did DKC1, some more of DKC1 earlier today. Now we're gonna do more of DK2. And we went through the like the first major themes, the menu theme, the opening title screen, and the map theme. And then I think we also went through like the first stage and the boss theme and like all that other first world stuff. Now we're going to start on the second world, and we're going to go like probably get our way into the third world as well. We're going to start with Hot Head Bop. So let's go into it. I just had to fix all this. Contact lost all my, I changed the drive location recently, and Contact lost all these patches. And even when I pointed in the right direction, it still couldn't find it, so I had to manually go and add in all these patches again. That took a while. And so, in order to, here, let's go through this piece by piece. We'll start with the bass, which is like the biggest part that everyone knows. No way, I missed the first stream. Yo, Hot Head Bop. Ah, welcome, Seronimus. You got here in the right time. So this is the thing that everyone knows, right? We have this like picked bass. This is a very strong like picked bass. Sounds like the guitarist was really picking this bass, man. And so it's a very strongly picked bass guitar. And so with the what is kind of going on here is like you have two plucks, right? It's like da 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 da, and it's kind of in swing timing. So this one is a little bit off. So like all the hands, like every other beat is like a little bit off from the other one. So Greg gives it a swing time feel. And so you have the first one is on the one, but then you have a syncopation here. So it's kind of like driving the beat forward, because if we were to do like, so it's kind of creating syncopation, like combined with like not syncopation. So it's like you have it in thirds, right? Because this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's kind of like a grouping of 6. And so then you do a couple of these, and then you just have this like bluesy da 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 da. Where is it? So that's kind of a very bluesy way to do it. Is like you starting at the 5th, because if you're in the key of A minor, within the E is the 5th of the scale, so you go from the 5th, and then you do like a chromatic lead up from. That's like that chromatic way is a great way to add a little funk. So if you want to introduce a little funk to your song, do like a little chromatic walk up every now and then, even breaking the scale. $10 from Inverse of Zero. Wow, thank you, Inverse of Zero. Nice. Jumping on here to show support for your work. Thank you. I just introduced my fiance to DKC via Returns on the Wii, and she's fallen in love with the music. She often plays your music on YouTube Music. Wow, I'm glad to hear that, man. Thanks to your fiance. I'm glad she enjoys the tunes, man, and you enjoy the tunes as well. Very grateful for that. Thank you. Goated, you deserve more recognition. Thank you, Gray Z. Well, now all that matters is you're here, right? So. That's great. Thank you for that. Now, this is a pretty repetitive line that we have here. It just keeps on repeating this line throughout most of the song. But we have some other stuff here, and we'll go into that later. And meanwhile, you have these rides playing in the drums, right? Ride cymbals. This is like, on a drum set, ting, ding, 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 like the ride, playing the bell of the ride. It's like when you're playing the middle of the cymbal, and so it's like a ride bell, they call that. Basically, that one's keeping the 4/4 beat, so because without this, the syncopation wouldn't really mean much, right? You have it doesn't really mean much, but if you add this one in, because it's on all regular beats, it's on all 2s, so it's like all 8th notes, so it's very much a straight beat. But then you have this syncopated rhythm, and then that one. And their like contrast adds danceability, makes it more danceable. Dun, 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 dun. And so then we have the bubble sounds, of course. No, that's the congas. So we have in the game, in the compressed version, he uses like one conga sound to make all these, but I found that the conga sound that he used, I think this one's it. This one, or maybe it's one of these, but one of these is the one he used in the game, but in that kit came with a bunch more sounds, and I think that at sort of different articulations, and I think he was trying to emulate those articulations by having that one conga sample at different pitches, so I just went ahead and used all the different articulations of the conga drum patch. So these are all like things you would hear if you were playing congas. Like there's two drums, but depending on where you hit your hands on the drum, they create a different sound. So that's kind of what he's doing here, and he does it with the one sample in the game. So you have these congas going. This one's also, it's creating a swing feel. Look how it's like some of these notes are slightly shorter. That's because every other note is going to be a little bit offbeat. That creates the swing feel. That also creates danceability, right? It's because like some things are off. It's like, oh, as soon as you realize it's off, then it's like there's another beat that's on the beat. So it's like tension and release a little bit. If you were to quantize these, it would sound like this. Not as engaging, right? Very much a lot straighter. Now it's like got this, like it's swinging back and forth, right? So that creates a lot of danceability, right? So you have this, you're starting out with drums and percussion here. Nice. And then you have the bubbles, right? And the bubbles they're echoing into infinity. And these are really two bubble sounds, right? Well, most of these are one, right? So it's like you just have this, and then it's echoing, but they're played down low, because if you played it up here, it sounds like water, right? But if you play it here, if you slow it down, it sounds thicker. It almost sounds like it could be lava or mud, right? So he kind of uses that bubble sound to make, and he pitches it down lower to create this like illusion that it's thicker. And he's playing it at a bunch of different pitches, and then every once in a while you have this second bubble, right? This is the original pitch, but he pitches it down. Very nice. So he, once again, he's making them sound thick, like lava. I love the bubbling sound so much. Are those real samples? Yes, they are. It's called Skip's Flartles or something like that. It was from one of those Warner Brothers cartoons or Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And so it was one of those stock sound effects. They would have gotten it from a sound effects library. So, bro, is it okay if I use some of your music to credit to your videos? Yes, as long as you credit me in the description, using either a link to my channel or a link to the video in question. In PPF's cover of HHB, he uses the water for bubbling. You should have just used cornstarch slurry or something like that. Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, that would have made it thicker. That would have been a good idea. I've seen his video. His video is very good. He kind of makes like these like DIY instruments that are pretty cool. And so on top of that, we have this pad. Right? And he does this, he does it like, he starts on C, and then he goes down a half step to create some suspense and dissonance, right? And then he goes up a fourth. It's kind of like what he does, he kind of does the same thing in the boss tune from DK1. It's like, you create some suspense with these pads that are these feedbacks that go in and out. And this is actually that steel guitar that comes in later in the mix, but it's just looping a short piece of it. Nice. And so, yeah, so you have, yeah, it's just a piece of the steel guitar that comes in later. And then later on, we come in with this, we start out with, so it starts out with just drums and then this like pad, right? And the bass. And then you come in with these extra drums, right? This kick and snare. Yeah, right? Nice, compelling drum beat. And this is from the Bob Clearmountain Drums 2 CD. And it's basically just a reverberated snare. In the original, he kind of like loops it so that he can create like have it play for longer. But it's kind of a gated reverb snare. And as you can see, they have many articulations of this. Pretty nice. Sure thing, bro. Thank you. You're welcome. And so you have that. It's kind of doing a still got that swing feel, and it comes in with this like this really cool like like drum fill, right? So we start out. We're hitting some like the snare on like the lower snare. Well, actually, these are all just different articulations that I use. We're hitting a snare on 2 and 4, right? And then we're also hitting it on like some of the off beats to give it some fun stuff. And then we're leaving off. We're not playing anything on the 3, on the third beat. So we're kind of doing mostly syncopation here. And that's kind of a Latin thing. He's like that's a little bit of a, like he's doing a little bit of Latin type stuff here. But we still have the rides going on, so those are really grounding us. But a lot of what the bass is doing and what the beat is doing is is allowing for more danceability, right? So all that syncopation in the main drums really drives it forward. It really makes it danceable rather than if you just had like just on the on beats. Premium D working on hot head bop, yes sir. And then of course you have the bubbles going, and then you come in with this guitar, right? This guitar riff. And this is one of Dave's signature emotional ostinatos, you know? This is like, he's starting on A, which is the, we're in A minor, so that's the root of the scale. And then he goes up a fifth, to the fifth of the scale. So he does this sort of like open fifth thing. And then he kind of goes down a second, and goes to the 4 of the scale. And then goes to up a fourth, to G. And then he goes back to D, hits that E again, and then he goes down to the B, and goes up to C. So meaning that it kind of resolves to this. It's kind of a nice resolution. So we have... And I think in the game he has this he has the notes run into each other by spanning them across 2 different channels. So you have the guitar kind of sustaining and releasing with the notes running into each other a little bit. But here we just do that using a good old-fashioned release. And this one, I wonder, this one doesn't actually have any swing on it. So we're kind of grounding it in that. Like some things you can use swing on, and like particularly the drums you want to use swing on, but you don't have to do that in the rhythm or the harmony instruments. You don't want to. So it's kind of grounding us, right? We have this swing. It's creating more contrast because now we have this one that's very exact. It's very on the beat, contrasted by all this other stuff that's going on that's off the beat. So it kind of lends more to the danceability in a way. What do you call this? It reminds me of a harpsichord. I love it. It's a steel string guitar. But the reason it reminds you of a harpsichord is because it's a synthesizer, like it's a sampler. because the way in the nature of a harpsichord is that it's a keyboard instrument. And so it's very much like, okay, you hit a note, that's what the note sounds like. And that's how a harpsichord is. But if you were playing this on a guitar, it might have the same timbre, but it would be a lot more expressive. And so, and that lack of expression that you get with a sampler is why it sounds like a harpsichord. So it's an unfortunate side effect of the sampler medium. Yeah, it's a steel. It's like a 12 string. So it's double string. So 12 strings are basically like 12 string guitars. If you don't know what that, if for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically like means that for every guitar on a 6-string guitar, there's now double the same amount, and each one next to each other, there's like an octave higher. So you're getting like an octave with every time you press you play it in the same way as you do a 6-string guitar, but a 12-string guitar basically layers an octave on top of whatever you're playing. So it has a grander, bigger feeling. And that's kind of what this is here. It's a 12-string. Yeah. So, but because it's a sampler, it sounds like a harpsichord, which is kind of what a harpsichord does too. I think if you look inside a harpsichord, you will see those double strings. Like it has those strings on top of one another, if I'm not mistaken. But all right. So then we come in. Right now, like pretty much we're just stacking instruments on top of each other. We're like introducing new stuff, and we're also dropping out at this point. It's at this point that we drop out the congas. So the congas, so this kind of takes over the congas role in the sense that it's doing eighth notes, but it's not doing swing. So instead of this, we go from pretty cool. And then we come in with our main melody. It reminds me of Massive Attack Teardrop, famously known as the intro to the TV show House. Yes, I do remember Massive Attack's Teardrop and House. Very good show, and then that tune was good too. And then so here we're doing a lot of syncopation because we already have a lot going on the on beats, right? The guitar is playing all on beats, and then the beat is playing a lot of on beats, but some syncopation as well. The rides are playing on beats. There's some syncopation in here, but now he's kind of he's avoiding hitting the 1, which is a signature move of Latin. So we have a lot of Latin influence here. We're not playing the on beat on the melody. We're leaving a space here. So it's like dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. So that makes it play really nicely with the bass, right? So right now he's playing with kind of a minor third. And this bell is from the D70, but I recreated it using Citrus, right? It's basically a synth bell. I found out that I could get higher fidelity because the sample was kind of low quality. So I just recreated it because it was originally created, I guarantee you, via synth. When they put it on the D70, they just stored it as a sample. So I just kind of took the harmonics and like recreated it by using Citrus's thing here. Like I just added harmonics where they were necessary and kind of recreated that sound and then put a filter on it. And then kind of had the oh yeah, it was also FM'd a bit, I think. Yeah, so this one is like, no, I don't think it's FM'd. I think it's just like one wave is coming in and one is going. One is longer. Yeah, there you go. So what he does here with this bell is he's kind of like, we're in the key of A minor, right? So he's kind of playing around with this like resolution. So it's da 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 da. And then he goes down, right? He does this resolution down. And then on the next phrase, he goes up. Da, 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 dee. So it's kind of like an answer and then a question, right? Da, 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 dun, dun. Dun, da, da, dee. And then he goes da, 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 da. then goes back down to the A, and then before hanging on this A for a while, right? It's kind of reminiscent to Aquatic Ambience, where he would go... Wait, hold on. So it'd be like... Yeah, right? So it's kind of that same idea. It's like you're going up and down, kind of. A lot of that. And see, he's using a lot of the off beats. Like, see, this is the only on beat he does. This is off. Look, see, this one's off. This one's off. And then he doesn't even hit it. But he avoids the 3 here. The third beat here. And then he avoids the third beat here. He hits the 4 here. But everything else is like syncopation. And then finally... on that last bar, he hits the 1. This is the only time he hits the downbeat here on this third bar. Dun 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 dun. And then he ends right before the third beat here. Dun, dun. So it's a lot of syncopation here. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. Creating a lot of danceability. Very funky. Really gives you something to dance to while you're jumping around on the lava. One of the greatest things about that soundtrack. It was like very entertaining, gave you something to dance to, and you know, one of the charms of it while you're playing the game. It's fine if you don't want to share, but you could. Do you got any tips for mixing and mastering? Yeah, I mean, for mixing and mastering, you just kind of want to be aware of, like for mixing in particular, you just kind of want to be aware of what space the your instrument is occupying in the sonic in the frequency spectrum, right? Like if you have a bass, your heavy stuff is going to be around here in the bass, obviously. You want to be aware of what kind of space each instrument is occupying. And you don't want to let anything drown out by having too much in one's in-run frequency spectrum. That would be my biggest tip. And then other than that, like a lot of things that I did to make things sound good was just introduce saturation, which is like subtle distortion, just to bring out all the details. And then you can EQ it. You can literally just like play around with like low pass filtering, you know, to see what sounds good. And then you can play around with like peaking, drag the peaks around. Really just experiment. Try to get a sound that you like out of that. And then you can use chorus. Like where's an example where I used chorus in here? I disabled a lot of the chorus here. But it's like a lot of, like, I like to use saturation, and then you can use like stereo enhancing. You can like separate, which separates the stereo into one. So that's always fun. And then for mastering, you just want to like put something on the master that like that independently limits the lows, right? So I have the lows. A good rule of thumb is I always give the lows, like usually I do it either at 3, limited either to -3 right here, or in between 3 and 6 right here, and then the middles I kind of limit that to between 3 and like on 3 most of the time. But for DK, I put the bass at 3, and then the mids down there, because DK has heavier bass. Most of the time I put the mids at 3 and the bass at between a little lower. And then the highs you want to limit down to between like 9 and 12. You want to kind of get that. That's like how a professional thing should sound. This one's really, why is this so sharp? Is that snare doing that? Yeah, I don't want that snap, so maybe. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. But anyway, you get the idea. Oof. Actually, now I kind of want to go that snap out. Let's see. Use some more precision. Okay, that's a little more well managed. Yeah, so just stuff like that. That's what you do for kind of mixing and mastering. This is actually chill, for real, for real. I'd be playing acoustic guitar with the song. Yeah, that's a good song to learn acoustic guitar on. So what are these analyses and stuff supposed to be like a revisit where you fix it up a bit? No, I'm not fixing anything. I'm just going through it and like showing people like what makes this soundtrack work. It's not for the restorations. It's just to analyze the compositions and go into the music theory of how they work and how they create tension and release. So, with that said, we go into the next section of the song, which is like a chill out section, right? Like there's no more drum. Well, there's a little bit. The congas are coming back. He brings back the congas. A lot of what he did, I think he's bringing back the congas, right? Yeah. So a lot of what he does in Donkey Kong Country 2 is like he kind of takes certain elements out, then he brings them back later, and it's like swapping out certain elements, which is pretty cool. So he brings back this this pad from the beginning, right? He brings back that back to play a little bit. Almost like the whistling of steam, right? Like a teapot. And then you have this string bass, right? This is the wave station strings. You have this dark bass. Where is this? So it's playing an A here, just like the whole song is pretty much riffing on A, jamming out on A. So basically, this is kind of like just an open jam on A. Like if you got a band together and just had them say, "Hey, jam on A," you could come up with something like this, right? It's like there's no real chords established. It's just like they're just firmly establishing A minor, and then they're like, just run with that. There's not really any chord changes yet. But here we have this like legato bass, so we're like chilling out a little bit. And then you have, or just for a moment, and then the moment's gone. And then you have that pick bass coming in with an F, going da 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 da. And this is also kind of the chord progression of Gangplank Galleon, right? That 6-7-1 in minor. So we have, so it's like da da, it's like da, da, da. So it's also kind of an allusion to that Gangplank Galleon chord progression. So I knew about EQ too and how to use it, but I learned a lot about Maximus and the importance of dB management. Thank you a lot, brother. You're welcome, brother. Premium D. Nice. Glad you're learning. All right, so what else do we have going on? We brought the congas back, right? Only for a moment. And then you have this pad, so you have the lows and the highs. One thing that Dave does a lot of times when he does these chill out sections is he has the low lows of the bass and then the high highs of like a really high pad. So that's pretty cool. It makes it feel really big, you know. And then in the melody, we have the piano coming in for the first time. And it's a very sad and nostalgic piano, right? Why? Because we have this. It's a solid A minor chord, right? It's an A minor arpeggio going down. E, C, A. And then he goes da 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 da. This is outlining an F major chord, right? So we're actually kind of establishing, we're kind of going along with that. So we're kind of going along with that 6-7-1, right? We have 1, 6, 7, 1, 1. And being this is like such a, this is kind of like a dark piano note. There's not a lot of overtones here. This sort of like, what makes it sad is like kind of this strong fundamental. And there's not, it makes it feel very fragile and vulnerable. We have we only have like four solid frequencies here. So it's a very like, if you played it down here, it doesn't sound as sentimental because you have all this like so many more overtones going on, but because you have it up here, it sounds so much sadder. And then actually, so when we go up here, so we're just inverting that F chord up, right? So we're putting the F on the top and the A and the C on the bottom. And then we go up to G. Right, so we're just doing pretty cool riff. Nice. So he's just repeating that twice, and then he's doing the same thing with the synth, right? And then having that cutoff filter open up. So this is that synth he put into the game, and basically what's happening here you have the modulation X opening up. So that's this filter, right? In a synth, you have a tone. And then if you open up the filter, you get a more you get more overtones. Man, this sounds good. Thank you, Mr. UG. My favorite parts to play on the acoustic guitar. So beautiful. Yes, that piano is amazing, right? Such a good piano part. And I think the Glover tune from like the Glover tune from Atlantis 1 kind of does this like thing from DK2, which is the ice level, because it was like but then DK2, the in a snowbound land, was like kind of the same idea, really. So they kind of inspired that by that, I think. Yeah, so that's what you've got there. And then in the harmony, he's coming in with this like with this beat again, right? Like he's giving you this introduction to the beat. Coming back in with the rides. And then everything's coming back in. And then he brings the bubbles back. So now that he comes in with just the drums and the bass. Oh, as an allusion to the oh, and then we get this finish here. That drum fill. And then we have a new and then we come in with a new sort of guitar thing, but first we also do go up in the bass, right? We do so you climb up. Come up to C. Now we're going into C. Dun, 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 dun. And then we're going down to F. Dun, 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 down to D, and then to G. And then we just start over again. So we're kind of going to new heights now. We're introducing more emotion instead of just jamming on A. We're doing something different now that we're done jamming. But he's kind of he really took his time introducing all of the different elements. He kind of like progressively led them up so that they're not overwhelming all at once. That's a good rule of composition. It's like ease people into it, you know, like don't give them everything at once. And then he did this chill out section, brought everything back, and then kind of went into this more emotional section. And to kick off that emotional section, we have this new guitar riff, right? And this one is more emotional than the last one, right? Because instead of going all over doing, we're now having some more maturity. We're like getting more emotional maturity here. We're actually like hanging out on certain emotional notes, right? And this is kind of those intervals that sounded really good in like aquatic ambience and stuff, where it's like, you know, that major third to minor second combo sounds really nice because you're like combining thirds, and so like combining major and minor, so it's like tension and release really. And he kind of sticks this G in here to give it more chordal value. So now we're kind of outlining a C major chord. And then sometimes he hits this A, but he does it more strategically. Mostly he's focusing on E here. So that's pretty nice, yeah? So we're definitely in C major here. So in essence, we've modulated from A minor to C, which A minor is the relative minor of C. So it has all the same notes. Like C major is pretty much the same, uses the same notes as A minor, except that instead it focuses on A instead of C. So now we're in C major. We're going to focus on C more. So we're getting a little bit happier, but we also have some minor tones as well. And then he goes down to F, but the notes in the guitar stay the same. And this is something that Dave likes to do. He establishes a riff, like a very emotional ostinato riff, and he keeps it the same, but after, like, while he changes chords, because it gives us something to, like, I don't know, it's sort of like nice to have this thing stay the same, but like the harmony change. It's really cool. Sort of nostalgic, I guess. Man, this sounds good. Thank you. Love your restorations, man. I keep listening to them constantly. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Metroid for Mike. Welcome. Okay, so you've got this and the drums going, sounding really nice. Really smooth as butter. And then you have this piano is now playing a nice melody, right? This is outlining a C major chord again. So that's C major, and you now have these really high-pitched, fragile piano notes that are just really sentimental. Basically, just like experimenting with a C major chord, outlining it, right? And then he goes up to D, and this D, when he is marked with considerable changes in the harmony, right? Because this is the point where we switch to G here in the bass. So the bass is playing G, but that D is the top note of G major. So that's kind of why we're kind of solidifying that chord, right? Because D in this key of C major, G is the fifth. So when in essence we're hitting the 5 here, and we're like, oh, that sounds really nice. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. And this sound, like really catches your ear, this change to D, for a number of reasons. One is because all this time we've really been playing mostly in mostly focusing on the C major notes, E, G, C. But then suddenly we go to D, and that's marked by the bass has been changing, but it's been changing to all different notes. Main reason why this feels different is because now suddenly this guitar, the guitar riff that repetitive guitar riff that we've known to come to know and love, now also changes to D. So it really marks like a change here. You have it's really like calling attention to itself. So now we've kind of diatonically moved down. Instead of doing, we're now doing, and we're still kind of hitting that G at the bottom occasionally there, so we're not changing too much. See, it would sound really weird if he went. You kind of want to avoid that. So it sounded, he kind of kept it as the G, I guess, because that F would have sounded too weird. And then he only does that very briefly, and then he resolves back to C, because this is very much a 5 chord here. And then he goes from 5 to 1 to C. And then we go back to what we know and love. And then we're just, at that point, we're just repeating it again, but we're adding some new elements. We're adding pads here, and he's removing the rides, right? So the ride symbol is going away. And then he stops that, but then he introduces some pads here for even more emotion, right? And these pads are playing thirds on C, so we have, it's some synth strings. And now he's doing like doo-wop chords, right? So where the bass is actually establishing like kind of like doo-woppy, but in the bass is establishing it as firmly as C major. And now then the bass goes down to F, right? So this is actually an F major chord. And then the bass goes down to D, so we have D minor. And then I think next the bass goes up to G, which is interesting because here we have G sharp and D. Right, so that means we have, which would be really dissonant except that the bass is down here. So it kind of catches your ear because it's really... So technically we have... No, we have... That's a really whole chord, right? It's a solid C major chord. Na 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 na. Then this one's a little bit less whole because we have a whole F major chord, but in here, in that first chord, both the strings and the bass are hitting C, so it's like kind of really making it wholesome. Because you have that far apart octave here. And let me scroll this down so you can see. And then you have... And then you're going down to D. And then you have... So it's a really far apart. It's a really strange chord. And some kind of what I think he's doing here is like he's trying to establish like a G... Sort of a G... Some kind of G sharp 7th chord? I don't know. Or G flat 9th? It seems like G flat, like G major flat 9. So this would be G major 9. Yeah, so it's basically G major flat 9. This would be G major 9. If you flatten the 9th, it's kind of pretty interesting. It's really catching the ear here. And meanwhile, in the here, let's hear just the harmony stuff with that. Nice. So it really catches your ear, right? Let's see. Rare, we need a soundtrack for a game about silly monkeys who don't go overboard. Got a masterpiece, knew it. Right? Ah, someone's speaking Japanese in here. Nice. Someone must be from Japan. Or, yeah, I think it's Japanese. Translation of Allegro's message. I really like the piano here. Ah, you speak Japanese. Nice. Look at you. My man's killing it. Long live DKC. Yeah. Rage on the DKC track. Nice. This sounds amazing. Yes. Thank you. Welcome, Edulink. All right, so let's see, what's the guitar doing on that last chord there, that big G major flat 9 chord. So he's kind of just, he flattens that ninth just like before, right? Goes down to G sharp. So it's kind of like he's doing some diminished stuff here. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, very interesting chord to go to. Nice. So in the melody, what are we kind of doing here? Let's see. So now we're introducing that harmonica. So it's a harmonica solo. Solidly playing the top of a C major chord, right? And we've established this chord as being like, actually I think it's, so he's playing in C here, yeah, so it's solidly C major, right? Da, na, 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 na. And he waits a bar to do it too, so he kind of lets you feel the harmony first come in, but so then he, if you want to make a melody, you don't have to start on the first bar. You can leave some space there, you know? And that's kind of what he did here too. He kind of, with the piano, he left some space. Let you hear the harmony first. How often do you work on your projects? I mean, I'm doing this full time, really, so I'm working on projects all the time. 5 days a week, but not on weekends. So I'm always doing like projects or something like that. When I had a regular job, I would just work on it whenever I felt like it, really. Like whenever I felt I wanted to, you know? So, yeah, or whenever I didn't have work, but I would also do a lot of like going out to meet with friends and stuff. So it's really just however often you feel it's healthy, you know? So, with this melody, but once he hits this last E here that he rests on, the chord changes. Now it's that F chord. So that means that this E is functioning as a 7 now. So he kind of rests on this. You hear that 7? It's like an extended harmony now, so we get a little more emotion out of it, right? Because, it's like an F major 7 is a little more emotional than if you just hit just an F major. But an F major, solid F major has more finality to it. It feels stronger. But this feels more emotional. It has more sentimentality. So he's going straight from like a C major, like a solid C major, like everything that's playing right now is playing C major, the bass, the chords. But then he goes to this F major 7. So he's introducing a lot of emotion here very suddenly. And he's also going down the circle of fifths, right? Because actually, yeah, it's like, that's pretty much a circle of fifths moment to go from C to F. So he's going to 4, it's the 4th of the scale. But he's also introducing that 7th in there, which is like to give it some emotion. And then here, so it's like, And he continues to riff off of that C major chord, right? Even though we're not in C major anymore. Now it's almost like he's playing with the ninth, because G is the ninth of F major. So we're getting even more emotional here. We're going for a ninth. And here we're in a D chord. So what does that mean? Now E, we're resting on this E here. I'm gonna go do this in the harmonica. E is actually the ninth of D minor. So now we're keeping that same emotion. Resting on that seventh, right? And then we're riffing on it again. And then when we hit that weird G major 9 chord, right? We're doing, so it's like, so it's still in the chord, but we're kind of accentuating that finality, right? So the chord progression is like C major, F7, D minor, 9, I guess, if you want to get technical. And then G minor 9, G minor flat 9. So nice. And then it's that last chord that he loops back to the beginning. So he just chooses like a really ear-catching chord before the loop to call your attention, right? Nice. Hey there, good afternoon. Welcome, Ciara. Good to see you here. Is it true that the E key has a magic feel to it? It is not true. I can say with the confidence that no matter what key you are in, it is pretty much going to be the same. Is going to sound the same as if you're in another key. Like if I'm playing in it's going to sound the same as if I'm playing in like C minor. There's no magic there. I mean, maybe E sounds more wholesome to you, you know? And a lot of EDM songs write in E because that low bass E is going to be the lowest note that that the human ear can hear before it goes into subsonic frequency. So E is a very good key. I like using E a lot, but it's really not, there's really no magic to it. It's just whatever you like doing. ChatGPT told me that the Harry Potter theme is in E for that purpose. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know if I agree there. I think it would sound just as good in another key. Yeah. But who am I to argue with John Williams? You know, that's his choice. We shall see. Anyway, this is also this kind of song also, I ended, if you recall, I ended this restoration in a unique way because this is the 5 chord, right? So we're going to the 5 chord, but then in the loop he resolves it back to A, right? So we're going from G to A. But I figured I could resolve that from 5 to 1 by going nice. That sounds very satisfying, right? So all I did was like I just added a C in here and made the melody go back down to C, which I really only had to add 1 note. So that makes me think, like, did Dave kind of write it to be resolved, but then just didn't resolve, or wrote it to expect a resolution, but then just completely denied us that resolution, and it's like, hey, it's starting over at the beginning. So here, and then I go straight back to those C's in the pad right there. That's pretty cool. I thought that was a great way to end it. Chat GPT lies a lot. Yeah, right? It's like engineers like creating artificial intelligence are like, hey, I've created an artificial idiot that's always wrong. You know? Artificial stupidity. All right, so but AI is useful for a lot of things, like the things that I don't want to do. I would not use AI for like creating art, actual moving art. I would do it for like, hey, I don't feel like doing this. Let me have Chat GPT do it instead. But that also comes into like sort of runs into the problem of like, hey, you're actually stealing from other people because it's a legal gray area where it's like you're just taking things from the internet. So I guess it makes sense that you can't really use it. Doesn't make sense to use Chat GPT, or it's ethical. I'd say it's ethical to use Chat GPT for your own purposes. It's not really ethical to have it take stuff from online and create like for commercial purposes, you know? Because then you run into like, oh well, Chat GPT is actively using other people's work, so you know that becomes a problem. Just stopping in to say I really enjoy what you are doing. Thank you, Alexander. Welcome. Now, let's see. What did we want to do next? Oh yeah, we spent like almost an hour on this. Wow. So I wanted to do next Mining Melancholy. Yes. That'll be a good one. Everyone loves that one. Where is it? Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Any second now. Okay. Do 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 do. Dang, I almost started composing in E to feel like a wizard. Yeah, I think a lot of guitarists compose in E because that's like the lowest open string on it is an E on guitars, so sort of seems to be the favorite among singer-songwriters. And then a lot of African folk music is done in A for whatever reason. I guess their instruments are just tuned to that. Mm-hmm. 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 All right, here we go. And then of course, Contact is going to forget because we changed drive spaces. Contact is going to forget that I had this bass. And then if I tried to go browse for files and like find it, Contact is going to be like, even if I select this file, I'm like, hey, this is the file that you need. Oh wait, it actually works this time. Wow, it never did that before. Maybe it's because I only have one. Nice. Once Contact does not completely lose my once Contact does something useful, right? So okay, so what's going on here? We have this pick. I call it a pickaxe beat. And why is that not playing the pattern that I selected? So all this is just that steel keg sample playing an octave up and then an octave down and echoing with it. Well, it's not a perfect octave, but what the heck? There's no like actual tune. There's like one fundamental frequency in here, but it's not even really tuned. Nice. So it's just kind of creating this boop, 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 but you know, it's kind of swaying us back and forth, being that it changes pitch like that. And then you have all these percussion things underlying, right? Nice. So what do we have going on here? We have a lot of different sounds. One thing is that we have this cowbell, but this attack is softened, right? So you have this. But we do some attack stuff. So we soften the hit, right? And we're playing that at about like a little lower. Then later it plays up here, right? And then we have a hi-hat. Oh, but it's actually playing down here. So it has a little bit of a metal hit sound, right? Right, so, and then we have this vibraphone. Oh wait, this is like, I changed this. This is actually not a vibraphone. I changed this sample. Yeah, this is just FL Studio once again being stupid and finding a random vibraphone sample because I can't find that sample anymore. I guess I'm just going to choose this random sample called Vibes and use that without ever saying anything. So because FL Studio is poorly programmed like that and has problems, we're going to have to go and find that sample. And I think the one I used it's at a go-go actually. Actually, I think it was this one. Why is that one not playing? Yeah, so it's basically just a really high click. You probably can't even hear this very well. Unless you're, I don't know. So it's playing really high. It's basically just a little metal hit, like a coin drop or something. And then we have the snare here, the Mighty Melancholy snare. Played higher, played like a little lower. And then we have another steel keg sound. Playing up really high, right? And then we play down really low. And it's also, they're panning around everywhere. Like, everything has a different level of panning and velocity. Or, oh, actually, mostly everything... well, actually, yeah, these are all panned. They're all panned different ways, really. Yeah. So it sort of sounds like it's coming from random points around the mine, right? So you have this big sense of space. This was a oh wait. Oh, people are having a nice conversation. Should have been a game on this. This should have been a game on the SNES. Making music. Ah, yeah, right? Now, how does it feel to have these restored tracks in the background of YouTube videos, Twitch streams, animations, and video essays, etc.? Oh yeah, it feels nice. It's like, yeah, people are listening to this stuff. Gives me a lot of satisfaction. There was a Mario Paint composer, right? Yes, Mario Paint was a game that did allow you to make music, and then Little Big Planet actually made it possible. Got me curious about music a lot of the way. Like, there was an editor in Little Big Planet 2 that let you make the music. Yeah. Oh. Well, hello there, LSA, Yamando, Angelo SFA. Welcome. My most honest congratulations to you for the restored Sycamore Symphony. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yes. So, great. So that's pretty much that loop. You have combined with that loop pickaxe beat. It's like, when I was a kid, my brain always heard like a tune in this. You had dun 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 dun, and I now know that I was like hearing that I was hearing a combination of the cowbell and the steel keg, right? Because it's like you mute out all the other ones. It's just like. Dun, 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 dun. Those are really the most audible ones there. It's almost like a tune, right? Like he's creating a tune with these, like, because both the cowbell, this one has a little bit of a fundamental frequency in here, so you can hear like a note, kind of a note being played. And then the pipe hit also has kind of a note being played. You can kind of see that fundamental frequency there is playing something. Pretty cool. So it's kind of making a tune. So the way he kind of organized this is it's making like a little bit of a melody, so to speak, even though it's all percussion. It's pretty cool, pretty creative. And then you come in with the with this beat. These metal drums. So this is 2 samples, right? You have this mine kick. And this is from the EMU emulator, which is the same which is the same machine that the pickaxe come from, the pipe hit, the steel keg thing. So so he just took that from there. So you have this snare. This is like the snare sample. It sounds like another pipe hit, so probably created in the same sample set. And then this one almost sounds like it's like a crash cymbal, you know? It's like a Chinese crash kind of crash cymbal. And then you have like a big booming kick at the bottom. And this is a popular hip hop beat, right? Like boom. That's a common like hip hop drum beat. So he's kind of making it like hip hop, and it's very like there's not a lot of syncopation. It's all like one. You see, it's all mostly on the beats here. So it creates a very stable and like grounded feeling, right? So it makes you feel very like it feels very powerful. You know, there's not a lot of syncopation to destabilize it. It feels very like exact and on the beat. So that's why it gives you a lot of this power behind it, right? And then when we go to this Phil Collins style drum like tom roll, he's basically just using the snare wave, right? But he's playing it down low. Right? So he's playing it like toms now. This is all just 2 samples. Pretty cool. So, and then we have here, it's easy to miss, but we have a sub bass here, right? Which is further kind of solidifying this idea of like hip hop, right? Because it almost sounds like an 808 bass. You probably won't be able to hear this if you're on a phone, but it's a very low sub bass, which he sort of seems like he's trying to emulate an 808 kick, which is what a lot of hip hop did back in the day. Oh, it still does. Like hip hop, like still does use the 808 kick, but it originated back on the Roland TR 808, which when they had this like long kick that would loop a deep bass vibration. And now kind of hip hop really just uses that for the nostalgia. Part of the hip hop form. So this is definitely taking inspiration from hip hop, right? You have this drum beat with the 808 kick behind it. Very cool. There was at least one music generator on PS1 too. Yes. Okay. I didn't hear about that. Oof. Yeah. Would you do also restored forest like? I can't see what this is because YouTube is so badly designed, man. It like puts an emoji right by the chat, so I can't see what people are saying. Would you do a restored forest interlude? Yeah, we could update forest interlude. Maybe at some point. I don't want to do it like, I kind of want to space them out, but we'll see. I might do another one soon, maybe next month. But yeah, so this, and then you come in with the bass, right? And you do, right? And this is like, we're going from D. So this establishes that we're kind of in D minor, right? Because this 808 kick is like hitting on D, right? So we're kind of establishing D minor, and then when we hit this bass, we go from, and why does he do this? Is because G is the fifth of D minor, so we're kind of doing, no wait, it's the fourth. Okay, so we're kind of doing a 4-to-1 resolution. And as we established in Simi and C, like it's like not as strong. We don't want to do, it's kind of a little bit too happy to do 5-to-1. So instead we're just doing 4-to-1. Feels a lot more relaxed. So he's doing da 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 dum D. Right? And then he's doing that little trill here to give it some variation. And then he does even more variation. He goes da-da-da-dum, you know? Okay, so instead of just repeating that exact same thing, he gives a little more variation, generates a little more interest. Right? And we still have all that percussion going on, right? So I love how he uses that tom roll to like really kick it off into the full thing. Now we've got all this stuff going on. We got a full bass. So then he comes in with this synth beat, right? Nice. Pretty groovy. Greetings from Peru. Me and Kanta Two's videos. I love your videos. Wow. Thanks for all that excitement. Susanna Moltovan. Welcome to the stream. All right. Glad to have you here from Peru. Nice. All the way over from Peru. Love it. Getting a lot of representations from that area of the world around here these days. Nice. Love to see it. Okay, so what are we doing here? He's using that synth, right? And he's kind of opening, and he's doing that thing where he opens up. He opens up the resonant filter, right? So that he gives us this morphing sound. Because we can see the modulation going here, right? He's kind of moving over the place. He's like kind of starting out center, then so it's like, he's kind of morphing it to help out the melody, right? To emphasize certain things. And one thing that's really interesting that he does is he opens up the filter on the 2 and 4. And on the 2 and 4 it coincides with the snare, right? Because the snare hits on 2 and 4. So he's kind of otherwise, if you ignore the 2 and the 4s, like these big ones, you kind of have a linear sweep up, right? Like, because it's kind of going in a line, right? So he's kind of using the open filters to coincide with the snare hits, right? Because if you layer this with the beat, pretty cool that he's just like using the filter to accent the snare hits. Love that. And so besides that, if we go for the chords, these seem to be like random chords, but there's actually some like order to this here. If we go and look at the well, the bass is just doing the same thing. But if we consider that the bass is always in D, right? So that means the chord is always some kind of D chord. So what we're doing is here we're definitely in a D minor here. And then we briefly go to whatever this is. But this is like you have F, G, and B. So this is kind of just, and besides the fact that this is not really in D minor then, because this B would be an A flat, it would be a B flat in D minor. So technically, I think we're in D Dorian here, is like, because we would have, that's what it seems so far. So what that means is that we're starting in D minor, and then here, this is a voicing of G dominant, G dominant 7. Right? We just have the 7th on the bottom, which is F, and then we're omitting the 5th. Why are we omitting the 5th? Because the 5th is D, and we already have a D in the bass, so we don't need that D again. So it's technically G dominant over D, because the bass is still doing D over on the thing. Except maybe not on this beat. This is only doing this for one beat. Actually, no, it's doing G here, right? So the bass, at this point, it goes down to G. So we actually are bouncing between G and D here. So we're going very quickly from 1 to 4, from D to G, which is also something that, remember, we covered in K. Rool Returns, the title screen theme, like where we did. Why am I not hearing anything here? Oh, this is the bass. So where we did. So remember, so here we're going. So we're kind of just bouncing between. We're kind of bouncing between G and D here. We're just using clever voicing to, like, see, once we return to D, we're adding that 7th on top. So now we've got. So in essence, what he's kind of doing is creating a melody where on top you have. So he's kind of just using clever voicing to do that. So we have essentially D minor, G minor, G major 7, except that he's voicing it down here. So if we were to play this just straight as chords, it would be. But what's he doing here? This is a C major 7. He just omits the 3rd. But we're also over D. The bass is playing D, so no, actually the bass is playing G here, so this would be C major 7 over G. So we would be doing technically. That would be that last chord there. So we're really just bouncing between D and G chords. Pretty cool. Sounds like the sound effect in the Banana Cave of DKC3. That actually is the same instrument. So it's the same synth that they're using in the Banana Cave. So it's like. So in the Banana Cave, they would do something like, I think it was in C minor. So they would do. Something like that. Same instrument, though. Might have been lower or higher. Pretty cool. Okay, so And then, so then we're playing around with that, right? We're repeating it a little bit, but we're having subtle variations. And then once we get to this arpeggio here, we drop out the pickaxe beat. Right, and what's going on with this arpeggio? This is a D minor arpeggio. These are all D minor notes. And we're playing them with another synth. It's the same synth, but it's like kind of not really morphing the same. It's not morphing at all, actually. It's just staying the same. It's just a lower articulation. I don't have enough fingers for this. Maybe I could play this if I had like 8 fingers. Or like, 11 fingers. Pretty cool, though. Really catches your ear. So he kind of lets that ring out for a little bit. And then we go into that guitar, that great guitar solo. Good afternoon, Trade of All Jacks. Welcome. I'm actively playing DKC2 now. Got me in that DK mood. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah. So here we go into this. What are we doing here? Well, let's look at the bass first. We drop everything out except for that percussion that we started out with. So up until now, we've been playing that percussion nonstop. We have this percussion, right? And then we play the bass on top of that. But this time, instead of playing the pick bass, we're using the synth bass. We're using that synth. So this is that same synth as before in the game. I'm using a different patch here. But except we're doing it down in the bass. And in the game, it's a little bit less expressive of a filter. Right? So he's doing that. Actually, he's starting with a little bit of the pick bass, right? So he's starting with the bass for one beat, and then he's doing da 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 dun dun da da da. Cool. So what notes are we doing here? We're doing A sharp, B flat. So now we're kind of like, before we were in Dorian, now we're solidly in minor, right? Because we have that flat B instead of the natural B. So we're going B flat, C, A, D. And then we're doing that 6-7-1, right? The same progression as Gangplank Galleon. So remember, Gangplank Galleon was like, no, it was like, so we're kind of alluding to Gangplank Galleon here. Same scale and everything. So, and remember, one person asked in an earlier stream, says, can you play that the Japanese chord progression of like, what was it, like 6-3-4-1 or something like that? I can't remember, but I think that, yeah, it was definitely this one, and I was like, oh, that's Mining Melancholy, because this is what? This is 6. This is 6, 6, 7. Well, in minor, it would be like, but he was talking about in major. In major, that would be 4, 4, 5, 3, 6, 4, 5, 6. Pretty much like that. But apparently that someone said that was used a lot in anime. Is the sound of a pickaxe a sample? Yes, the sound of I just called it pickaxe beat. Oh, you mean the pick bass? Because this is the pick bass. Da-da-da-dum-dee. This is a sample from the Bob Clear Mountain Percussion and Bass. A very strongly picked bass, right? Very strong pick. But the pickaxe beat that I was saying earlier is like the steel keg sample. Both of them are samples. Yeah. So, kind of what he's doing here is he's playing a beat. It's a very syncopated beat too. If you look at it, the downbeats are there, but then he like does. Let's go to the synth. The synth bass is like dun, 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 dun. He doesn't hit it on the beats on the two beats. So he doesn't hit any of it on the on beats, on the quarter notes. He does it all off. See, he rests on this beat, right? So it gives it a little bit of like syncopation and a little bit of a danceability, right? So once you play it against this drum beat, right, you feel it getting unstable in the middle there, and then it restabilizes once you get to the downbeats. So, and then we go to the strings here. There's a sound that picks that. Yeah, it's this. Okay, cool. But I mean the ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Yes, you mean the. Wait, so you mean the. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, so you mean the like steel keg sample or the pipe hit sample. So the chords that we're playing over this bass are established as being. We have A sharp major, which coincides with the bass because the bass is also playing A sharp. And then we have C inverted, like C over G, but the bass is playing a C, so that's solidly a C major. And then we go to A minor. Let's see. And then the bass is playing A minor, so that's solid, right? It's a root note chord so far. And then we go up to D, and we're playing a solid D minor here, but it's over F. So in essence, we basically just have that chord progression of like A sharp major, C major, A minor, A minor, D minor. So essentially, if we number that in the key of D minor, we have 6, 6, 7, 5, 1. So 6, 7, 5, 1, 7, 6. No, 6, 7, 1. But he does something interesting with the strings here when he hits that last one. He goes. He takes away. He raises up the what would be the D here, and he makes it an E, and then he brings that D back in later. So this is kind of what we talked about in the last stream, was like it's like a common thing where you start off you delay the resolution using a sustain chord. So instead of playing D minor right out the box, he plays like he sharpens that thing to E, so it makes the chord really dissonant. So if we factor in the bass, we have. Whoa, what happened there? I was hitting the wrong note. So we have We have like, so it's kind of, it gives us that resolution, but not till later, right? So we don't have a full resolution until that. And then we do one more time. And then we have nothing. So we deny ourselves, he denies us that resolution again. Which is cool. All right, so altogether we have nice. So in the melody, we're doing all right, so this is a very folksy melody, right? We have a lot of folksy melodies like kind of do this, or like pop stuff does this in minor. And we're kind of letting these echoes out. But like the echo changes speed, right? So sometimes it's in thirds, and then sometimes it's in like fourths. I have the timing change, Rich. So the timing is changing so that it sounds like it's echoing at different speeds, right? So he's strategically changing the timing of these echoes in order to make it feel like it's echoing into on the rests. So he's strategically placing these rests and doing the echoes to make them feel like they're outside that and playing nicely within them. Very nice. Really cool way to end it too. And so, altogether you have right, so after this really emotional section where we drop out the drums, and then we basically change everything. This is what Dave likes to do. He makes a nice chill out section, and then he comes right back in with all that funky stuff. So what are we doing here? We bring the beat back, right? And we drop out the percussion for the first time. Like this, and we come right back in with that same bass, right? And then we even bring the 808 kick, like the sub bass. Really, now it really makes that bass feel extreme. And then we also bring back that synth that we remember. And with that arpeggio too. And then on top of that, we have this orchestra hit, right? So it really brings home that where we're expecting a resolution, instead we get this big hit. Dun, 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 and so this is just, yeah, it's great. And then we come in with this synth riff. This is the same synth as before, except now we're playing it like a theremin, right? The pitch instead of being like a plucking articulation, now the synth has a theremin-like quality to it. And now we're doing this ostinato, right? And we're kind of making this cadence, right? We're kind of like, in a fancy way, starting on high, and then we're kind of like climbing down. So this F makes us feel different, right? So it's almost like... And so we're ending on D, and because that feels like home, right? That's our home, is D in this piece. And he does that orchestra hit again. And he does two of them this time for an extra hit, right? It's like we rest a bit, and then it's like that's the way he likes to do his melodies a lot of the time. He gives them like a rest, plays them for a bar, then gives them a rest, then comes in with more. Lovely. Okay, for that descending rhythm of the whiny keys at the end, please explain that more, what that is and how it works, please. Sounds like the noise when you collect some items. Oh yeah, it's the same sound used for some of those noises, like when you collect the coins. I feel like the coins did like a in particular. That's a good one because this one's gonna follow the thing. It was like. And then when you paused, it would be like, yeah, that was the same sound when you paused. I think too. Something like that. We used a lot of this synth for the sound effects. That melody sounds kind of like traditional Chinese style too, particularly the echoes. Ah, really? Yeah, I can kind of hear that. Sounds like this sounds. Oh yeah, it also like also kind of sounds like an air who, you know. Air who kind of has that pitch bending like that. What exactly is the orchestra hit sound comprised of? Well, an orchestra, really. It's just an articulation of the orchestra. Like orchestra hits came from like when they would take an orchestral composition piece like on vinyl and they would sample it. There was like Igor Stravinsky's Firebird had this moment where the entire orchestra just did like a big hit. Like you had the snare drum going on, and then you had the entire orchestra basically just blaring everything and making a hit sound. And so what people did was they just sampled that and used it on electronic tracks. Gave it a lot of energy. So this, particularly I can hear a snare in here. There's a kick at the bottom. This one's more of a band hit, right? Rather than an orchestra, but so instead of like there being strings and like timpani and like stuff like that, now I can hear a kick and a snare and horns. There's mostly horns in here at the top. Boom. So but it's like a collection of all these sounds, and then he's just taking a sample of that, and then and now it sounds really extreme, right? But people love these sounds because they carry a lot of energy, right? That sounds just like the coins. Yes, it's the coins, exactly. Is the choir part just the SFX for the zingers? I always thought that it was a kid. No, it's actually not the sound of the zingers. But the reason it sounds like that is because for that, they used a choir sound, but it was a very short loop point, so it sounded like it was repeating. It was like, ooh. It was a very short loop. So what they did was, like, here, let me find that sound I use for this. There's so many MIDI tracks in here because of basically every single synth waveform was like one. It's one channel. And in the game, that was a lot shorter. Like, they really... let me see if I can find this actual sample they used in the game. The compressed sample. Because they had a really short... It had to be a little piece of a choir just looped. And so it kind of sounded like buzzing because it was so repetitive. So the choir... Ooh. This is the sound from the game. Ah, here's the pitch it was played at. So you see it's a really short looped piece. Whereas the sound that they used for the zingers, let me find that. That's the whole thing. I need just the piece. Oops, that's DK1. Not sure really how. Oh, here we go. SFX. Yeah, so this is the sound from DK2. So it's kind of the same. I can see how it would sound similar with compression. Kind of similar, you know. What is the choir ooh from, let's see. Oh wait, we have lots of people talking in here. And the invulnerability and invincibility sound too. Yes, the synth was used for that. I wonder what the science is on why music can sound right or wrong. Well, it's because you have the interval, right? It's the intervals that sound right or wrong, right? So like this is good, like it's... As you get closer together, they start to sound wrong. You move further apart, they start to sound more right. Until you get to that perfect fifth there. And then they start to sound wrong again. So you get to the octave. So it's, I wondered, but I don't know what the exact science is out there, but it's all very interesting, how it works. So... What is the choir ooh from? Also from the same sound library? No, the zinger was from a sound effect library, and you heard it briefly over there. But it's from a sound effect library. The choir ooh is from the Ensoniq CDs, Ensoniq CDR 1 through 4. Definitely not from the same library. So they're not that... They are a little bit similar, but they're not, like, similar enough to be from the same library. But anyway... So back on track. Let's what do we have next? We have the percussion comes back in after 4 bars, right? So we have and then he comes back in with the percussion, right? Repeat that for a little bit. And then you come back in with the pickaxe beat, right? And then you have this really dark bass, right? This is the wave station strings. Played down really low. And then you have the arpeggios repeating more often now. And then you have the theremin again. So he's doing like another chill out section, but this one's a lot more suspenseful. And when you have these, let's see, this time when he does the theremin, he lets it echo into the background, right? Right, so what's cool about this is like when he's doing that. Oh wait, now it's going to start over the whole thing. It sounds like it's echoing into the cave, right? So it's like that one. It sounds like it's just echoing into infinity. But then the second time he does it, instead of just repeating it twice, he does. He plays it again, but it opens up the filter more. So now it's kind of like, oh, it's actually not just an echo. Now it's like it's playing again. That's pretty cool. Thought that was a cool little tidbit, right? Nice. And now we get that same section again, that chorus section. But then we put the strings up an octave, right? So before they were down here, now they're up here. Why does he do that? Because before, when we had the guitar was playing up here in this range. But now we have that choir, and the choir's playing down here, more in the range of like a normal voice, right? So it's sort of like the minors like all singing a folk tune. So that's one of the things I was saying about like being aware of the sonic space that you're providing, because if he did this down here, the strings would and the choir would conflict with each other. So that's why he put the strings up an octave so they wouldn't conflict with the choir. So I see what you mean. It does kind of sound a little bit like buzzing. So I see why it's easy to mistake that for the zingers. It's because it's so many. The reason why it sounds like buzzing is because there's so many voices in a choir that it can sound like buzzing, especially if like one of the beauty of this sample is like they're a little bit more off than most choirs would be. So it's like there's like it sounds like they're not really trained. They're like they don't all have perfect pitch. So it sounds a little bit dissonant, like buzzing, right? Like a bee buzzing. Thanks for the interesting explanation. You're welcome. Cool, thanks. The orchestra hit reminds me of a very similar sound effect used in that era, like NBA Jam. Yeah, you're probably talking about the Stravinsky hit. That's like the typical one, man. That's like, let's see if I have it in my library. Everybody has the Stravinsky hit. Probably one of these. And FL Studio has them in their stock library too. This is used everywhere. Like everybody uses this. Every kind of hip hop uses this a lot. Like electronic music uses it. Let's see. All those get used, right? So it's probably one of those. I did a cover of this song on my channel. It was really tricky to do those metal stuff. Yeah, it's Mining Melancholy covers tend to be like dubious. Like they tend to either do really well or not well. You know, is that sort of an example of syncopation? You mean like the melody here? Because the melody is doing some syncopating. Basically, if you look at this grid here, you see how there's like 4 quarters. There's like this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, and this quarter. Anything you do that's like, if you do not hit the quarter here, it basically makes it feel a little unstable. And so that's syncopation. Like right here, he's ignoring this beat and hitting this one. So that is syncopation. He's delaying this to hit it here. But then he's like taking that away. So like by hitting the on beat here. So there is some syncopation. But see, look, this next one is like, now it's like all on beats. No syncopation. So then he syncopates a little bit here. and here, but for the most part, I would say this is not a good example of syncopation. It's pretty exact. Yeah, no, I don't think it's it's not an example of syncopation. A better example of syncopation would be the bass here that plays here. It's like, look at this. If you look at the notes here, go to where it's more obvious. Like here, he's doing like a ba-da-bum, and then he's ignoring this second one here, and he's like ignoring the even one here, and then he's basically doing it all on the offbeats, pretty much, like no on beats except for this one that's played by the pick bass. No problem. All right, so that's pretty much the song. We do this same thing. Well, and then he just like rests here. This is really cool. He rests here, and then it's like stays on this long note, and all of a sudden he comes in with this ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Right, and the kick even jumps in here to give it some more finesse or finality, right? It's like you have the... Where's my kick? I think the kick... Oh, it's made a separate channel for that, right? Right, so he's playing the kick up and down in different pitches, right? Yeah. And then that's when he starts the song over again. But now you have something interesting here. The voices continue and they play in the bass. So this is playing what the pickaxe beat is usually playing, is also playing. So it's echoing the pickaxe beat, going D sharp to E, but is doing so very subtly in the bass. And he's replacing it, so and there's no pickaxe beat here, right? So we don't have this. So it makes me think that maybe he just replaced the wave with this pickaxe beat. Like in this pickaxe beat, he replaced it with the choir. For the loop, right? Pretty cool. A remix of this might be nice. Yeah, I think so. I already did remix this one a while back, not too long ago. Cool. So that's great. That's pretty much mining Melancholy. Now let's do one more. Let's do Bayou Boogie. I should listen to it then. Yeah, it's just a by remix. I say that it's a remixing of this restoration. But I know a lot of people like refer to covers as remixes when they talk about video game music. But I don't really I just call them covers, because if you're talking about a remix, well, that literally means you're remixing something. You're not making but what people are describing when they say, "Oh, I made a remix of this," it's a cover, because you're not using in a remix. You're basically taking the stems of a song and remixing them into something else. But this is not like most DKC covers. Most video game covers in general do not sample the original at all, with the exception of a few. most of them are just recreating it in like in their own words, which is technically what constitutes a cover. So it really doesn't quite make sense to me. I see what they're doing is like where they're coming from, because remixes in popular music culture tend to be like, oh, someone made a pop song and then someone else remixes it into into like a club song. And so I guess that's kind of what they're doing. They're repurposing the video game song into like something more modern. But it's still the logic doesn't follow, because it's technically what you're doing is like covering the song. So that's why I always call what other people call remixes, I call them covers. Hello, not Bootstrap. Welcome. Now I'm working on aquatic ambience, but I can't get the guitar feedback to sound right. It's just 2 notes. Can you help me? I would say you need to find a you mean like the pitch or the actual timbre, like the sound of the feedback? Because if you're looking for the guitar feedback sound, you can go and search for like guitar feedback samples, or you can like create it yourself, but that might be a little bit roundabout. If you go and like get a electric guitar library, like let's say I use the what's a good like easy to load electric guitar library. Let's say I take the Sound Canvas electric guitar, right? It's like you go and you go all you really need to do is like you just need to loop that in, right? You just go. Now you've got a feedback sound. But so I don't know if that's what you're referring to. OC Remix is probably to blame. Yeah, definitely OC Remix popularized that. I think of it as being similar. Let's yet some notes are played in a different order. Yeah, pretty much. It's like similar. But okay, so let's see. Bayou Boogie. We start out with that famous "In the Air Tonight" drum beat, right? No, that's not it. Why is this? Okay. So this is using kind of the same drum machine that Phil Collins used, right? It's like he's using this he's doing a lot of syncopation here, like he's hitting this on the offbeat, right? This is the tom technically, but he's using it kind of as a kick, I guess. And then he's using the kick as a snare. And he's hitting the hi-hat on the one beat, right? So he's doing hitting the hi-hat on the on beat, and then it's doing straight syncopation, right? Like all these are offbeats. Except for this last one. So he's hitting the 1 and the 4, and then the rest is like syncopation. And then he has this gyro going on. It's like a synth gyro, right? All these are synths. They're synthetic drum machine sounds created by a synthetic drum machine, I guess, but that made no sense. But it's samples from a synthetic drum machine. I guess that makes more sense. So you have this gyro going on that sounds like a sort of like bug sounds, I guess. He's trying to emulate bug sounds of the swamp, right? But on a beat. So it's kind of tying it into the nature there. And then you have this. You have the kick going on the 2 and 4, so it's playing snare time, right? So it's a very syncopated beat. You have this tom going do 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 do. Cool. So it's a very Latin syncopated rhythm, sort of. You know. Dave likes his Latin beats for sure. And then you have some, you have this insect sound here. And what this is just a single cycle waveform, right? And it's being pitch bent up. So, and he's playing it on a beat, right? He's like, except that it's not even on a beat, because look, it's like, he's purposefully doing it on the beat. He's using like a different speed so that the nature sounds are distinguishable from the actual music. So he's playing it in the wrong time. He's not playing it in time with the beat. And he's varying the velocity, so it sounds like it's coming in and out, and stuff like that. But he's not playing it with the music, so he's kind of trying to make it distinguishable from the music. And then you have these like cricket sounds, right? Played at different pitches. Basically, he's putting them at different speeds and pitches to make them sound like a cricket sound. So it's pretty cool how he's emulating that with like different notes. Genius, right? Wish I could hear In the Air Tonight with the DKC2 sound font. I think people have made that a lot. Yeah, people have done that. Definitely. I'm making mine, but the length of the note just don't last. When I switch the instrument, let's say piano, it works. Really? Interesting. The length of the note just doesn't last. Oh, it needs to have a longer sample. It's probably you need like a longer electric guitar sample, and you need it to fade in. So it's like you just so like if you have an electric guitar, it's gonna sound like a thing at the start. But then you just fade the volume in. So like if you go to guitar, right? And then you just do it's not gonna be a long sound, but then you have to fade the volume in. That's kind of how that works. Always reminded me of a cicada or a grasshopper. Yes, exactly. It's kind of, I think he was kind of making the sound of like cicadas a little bit. I love your job with the Donkey Kong OST. Thank you, Gaston. Welcome. No one. That's taking me back to like Beauty and the Beast right there. There is a good mashup on YouTube. Yes. Okay, so why do I have Wave Traveler here? What was I doing with this? I have that here before? Wow. Okay, so and then he kind of has some frog sounds in here, right? All right, this is a sample. Yeah, so basically he's like taking this frog sound. This is like a weird frog croak sound. It's probably like some kind of African frog. Not really the kind of frogs we're used to, but this is a sound that frogs make. But except that it doesn't loop, so he kind of just looped it like that. But but he basically just, right? 2 bursts. And it echoes out a bit. And he took that same sample, played it up high. It pitch bends up a little bit. It's kind of using different pitches to make it more expressive. And then he does this thing with the clave, right? That's like... But I'm willing to bet... Oh no, yeah, this is the right clave. But he used the clave played at a high pitch here. So to sort of make it sound like an insect a little bit. Right? And they're all panned differently, they're all going off randomly, right? So you have all these nature sounds. You start out with just this drum beat and the nature sounds. Then we come in with this bass. So how's he creating this bass? First off, he has like a bell sound. This bell sound is in a go-go, which is kind of like an African instrument. Or is like, will it not play for me right now? Let's see. Also used in Brazilian music a lot, I think. Somewhere around there is the normal pitch. But he's playing that high pitch. Instead of playing it at a high pitch, he's sampling that and going down low. So now it has this bass value, right? And he's layering that with the Wave Station Vox. Vox. Dun, dun, dun. Right? And then he comes in with this. If we mute this out. So now we've got this. Here's the Wave Station Vox played at a normal volume, but we're doing. So what is he doing here? He's kind of riffing off a C major 7 chord, right? Because we have... But he's kind of arpeggiating it. And this is a thing that Aquatic Ambience did a lot in like his other works. Basically playing with this... And Stickerbush Symphony too. So he's kind of riffing off that. It's like a minor second interval plus an open fifth, creating this sort of emotional value. And we're definitely in A minor here, right? Because we're establishing like sort of pseudo A chord, right? He's kind of riffing off an A minor 7 chord, I think. And then layered with that, you have the pan flute, right? And the pan flute is echoing, right? Lots of heavy echoes here. And then you have a layer here, right? So he's going da 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 da. And then he goes up higher. He goes da da. He hits this A. A da 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 da. He's kind of like changing chords here because in the bass goes up to. Right, so it's rising. And so that means that this is he's kind of riffing off like a C major chord, right? Or an A minor 7 because it's like right? And then he goes so then the bass rises again. And the I think the bell drops out, right? Bum bum. So we're going to D now. And then he's doing this. He's kind of riffing off like a D minor chord, right? And then he adds an under melody here, so he's really building up tension. He's like adding more stuff, or he's building up the fullness of the sound. You have only the pan flute has that extra layer though. It's doing this layer thing where it's like. So he's doing like, he's going down in sixths, right? This is a sixth interval, right? But then on that final note, he goes up in the bottom one and establishes like an F chord. And I think in this part, I think at this point we do go to F, don't we? No, we're still in D here. Okay. So he's sort of establishing a D minor chord here. Right, so then he does that again, like da 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 da. It also reminds me of, what's that tune that's like, oh, what was that? It was like a video game console introduction or something. Da 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 da. Man, what was that? I forgot. Some kind of like Japanese thing. Do you know that David Wise mentioned you in an interview? Yes, I did hear that. I remember that part. He said that he likes the covers, but he thinks that they, like, to imply that restored versions exist are inaccurate. He says that he designed this for like to design these things to be like to work with the compression. But I'm kind of just making like what sounds good to me, right? Like I'm like, oh, I can like kind of restore these, and I'm really just like making what sounds good to me, you know, like my version as I hear it, you know. Oh, is that what that is? Wii Sports? Yeah. Bro, you are the GOAT. Thank you for shizzle my nizzle dizzle. Y'all with these names, man. Love it. Oh, that is Wii Sports. Yes. Okay, now I remember it because I had a Wii back in the day. It's been a long time since I had that. So this kind of does sound like that, right? Or does it go? Right? That's the Wii Sports tune. And so then in the under melody here, like that lower pan flute, so while these stay the same, we end on like in this A minor third, right? And then the bass changes to the bass rises again to F. Right? So we have this A minor third. So we have this slowly rising bass line and then this nice melody. So it's kind of like rising tension a little bit, but it's also a little bit relaxing because you have this emotional melody. And then he kind of just riffs off of that chord, right? He does. Kind of drops it on that A, and then it goes back down to the bottom, right? It just hangs on to that F. I know it hangs on, then and then we go right back down to A. So we're like rising and rising, and then we go boom down to A. Boom. And then we introduce this really cool like rhythm loop here. So this is another one of those wave station things, right? And here we are using On the offbeat, on the 2 and 4s, basically functioning as a snare, we have this low-pitched pan flute. But he takes out the, he only keeps the initial hit, so it's like that burst of air when you blow a pan flute, so it's just like a hit, like almost like a snare. Pretty clever. He pitches it down, it almost sounds like a snare. Kind of sounds really sloshy, like a swamp, swamp water or something, And he also has this marimba from the Wave Station. So it's like boom doom ta doom ta. And he has this jazz guitar. This is Pluck 3 on the Wave Station, I remember. This was also used a lot in DKC3, but funny enough, this is the only place he uses it in the entirety of DK2. But this is used all over the place in DK3. So I guess Evelyn found this wave and was like, ooh, I like that. And she just started using it all over the place. So this was actually from DK2, but DK2 was really sleeping on it. So, but it was used to the fullest extent of its extent in DK3. And another sound we have is this blown bottle, also from the Wave Station. This is used heavily most notably in a Snowbound Land. Right, but here he just used it as a little burst. Nice. And then in this he has this sawtooth here, one of those sawtooth synths. And then goes down an octave. Pretty cool. Very nice. I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's you have to have grown up on the Wii to know, right? Donkey Kong Country 2 OST is perfect. Like to know what Wii Sports is. Exactly, you have to kind of grow up on the Wii. Wonder if some music was originally intended for DK1. That's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like I remember they found like the pufferfish, like the pufferfish model was in the ROM of DK1 and it was unused. So apparently they intended for the pufferfish to be in DK1 but scrapped it and then used it for DK2. Is it true that Dave Wise composed this OST while being in France? I don't know. He did say in an interview that he did this, like the DKC2 was like his experimental Paris phase, which was whatever that means. I think he said he went to a lot of like underground EDM shows in Paris, but I just read that. I don't know. What's your favorite DKC2 sound effect and why? Ooh, I don't know. DKC2 sound effect. I have to think about that. I quite like the coughing of the squawks bird, right? You know that when he's like spits the like nut or whatever it is, like, and when he dies, it's like, or maybe the spitting sound like when you shoot a web, wah. You know that one was really fun. It was really cool. I guess that electronic music on Europe influences writing. Yeah, definitely Euro techno. Well, he lived in Europe. I mean, the man lived in like London, so he was already in Europe. So definitely Euro techno influenced his writing. I don't even know if the man ever set foot in the US before like he was, internationally traveling and stuff like that. I love all these tricks the developers use to make dynamic music with so little space, right? It's like incredible, man. It's a brilliant piece of engineering. So anyway, he does a little bit something different in this section with the drum beat, right? So the drum beat, instead of just being right, so what's changing here? In this part, let's see. we have a kick on the downbeat, like where the kick is functioning as a kick now, right? So it's so now so everything just kind of shifts around. Actually, the tom drum stays the same. And it actually has a kind of a constant beat, but it's a syncopated beat. This tom is like never hits the on beats. It never hits the quarters. So it's all syncopated, but the kick is only hitting the downbeat. So we're establishing the downbeat with the kick. And then you have this snare, right? You have an actual dedicated snare now. So we have a more traditional beat. But nothing hits the 3 though, so we kind of leave the 3 open. Just kind of what Dave was doing at some parts of Mining Melancholy, like in those chiller sections, he was like leaving the third beat open and avoiding that third beat for some like expectancy, you know. So that works really well with the rhythm loop. And then we have the bass going, but it's just the airvox still. Nice. So then we come in with this melody here, with this ostinato. This is some pizzicato strings. This is kind of one of his like ostinato arpeggio things. We're kind of outlining an A minor chord, right? Hard to play that with latency, but and then we're layering that with strings, right? It's like strings are sustaining more, like it's kind of a cool ostinato, right? Then you come in with this melody, right? This flute melody. And this is really reprising the boss theme of DK2, right? Of DK1, right? You remember we had this, let's see, wow, I'm in the bell right now. This is the Wave Station wood flute. That's just the Bad Boss Boogie melody. Or some of it, anyway. So, what are we kind of doing here functionally? We're in A right here, so this is the E is the 5th. And then we're kind of playing around with the 7th here, so we're kind of doing A minor 7, where the melody is establishing that 7 in concordance with the rest of the chords, right? And then we rest on that E there, and then what's really cool is like we avoid the note here, like we just let it rest here, because at this point we've repeated this melody enough where we expect to hear this E right here, right? But here he denies us this, and he's like, whoops, and then he just goes back into the rest of the melody. So it creates some unexpectancy, right? It's like kind of a trick. Right, and then we go up, going up to that 3rd of A minor. And then he comes in with he switches to a violin, right? Kind of a nice, I think this is viola range. But a cello could probably play this as well. Right, so he's just doing that walk down from F to A. So he has this very constant beat of like da 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 da. Kind of does this big jump up to the fifth, right? That G, and then goes dun dun before resting on that C. All the while, we have a change in the bass. The bass is rising just like the bass did before, and that rhythm loop along with it. This would be going up to C, right? Yeah. So while he's repeating that melody, but the second time he repeats it, it's going in a different context because now we have the basses moving up. So now it's like... So in the context of this being in solidly in like a C major chord, we now have the flute doing a, this is now hitting the third, right? Third, fifth, okay, going up to that root there, and then hitting that A there, resting on the A. And then we rise again. This time I think we rise to D there. Yeah, the bass would be in D at this point. It's making that same rising motion as before. So now we're in a D major chord, so that kind of lends this. See, we're kind of establishing D major, right? We're kind of outlining a D major chord, so. But then we hit this C, so let me see. C. And it coincides pretty well with this bass change here. I think we go up to F here. So that's sort of making this like a, it's like a chord change. He's changing chords to like F major now. Na 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 na. So now he has this French horn come in for like 2 bars. Or like 1 bar or something like that. And he does da na na da na 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 na. Very majestic melody, right? He's climbing up from A to E. Right, and he's sort of like establishing the 7th of the chord, right? So he's establishing this, if with the bass is an F, E is the 7th, so that's kind of he's kind of adding another harmonic to that chord in a way. So whereas he established like F before, then he's like making that rise even higher by adding a 7th. And then he just then he like falls back down to A. And that's the loop back to the beginning. So that's pretty much how that song goes. Always love to. Damn, good to see you. What's your favorite Donkey Kong soundtrack of all? Definitely DK2. Good to see you again. Good to see you again. I just got home from work. Did I miss much? Good to see you too, Red Master Azure. Yes, we're actually at the end of our stream now, but you can go and watch the rest of it. It's we have done Hot Head Bop, Mining Melancholy, and now we just finished Bayou Boogie. But we'll come back with this. We'll come back with more next week. And as of right now, I have to go to a show. Yeah, some of my friends are playing music tonight. So I'm going to go and see that. Love your restorations of all the trilogy. I have 3 set up MSU ones using your music. Wow, thank you, Axel. I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you enjoy them. Nice. Always love those pizzicatos. Yes, nice pizzicatos. This part with the cello is definitely my favorite. That's why it's my favorite song in the game. Nice. Yeah, so yeah, it's a good little cello slash viola solo there. Love it. Okay. All right, y'all. So that's where I'm going to cut it for today. I have to go and see a performance. But we will come back tomorrow. We're going to do some more DK64 restoration. So look forward to that. We'll be back with that tomorrow. Take care, y'all. And this is Jam and Sam's